All right. Good morning, everyone. Morning. All right. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody had a good Easter weekend. I'm Dark Algo, and thanks for joining me on another morning Watchlist building session. Guess what, y'all? We have lots of news to get through today. Lots of downgrades. Interesting enough, tech is going to make some moves, and we're definitely going to get into some overnight action on their futures. So let's do that first, shall we? Yes, I figured if we do the futures first, then we can get into excuse me, get into the news and still have time to get into FlowTrade. So with that being said, this is our futures chart. What we're going to do is we're going to look at everything from a daily 4-hour, 30-minute perspective and see potential, if we can get some clues as to what's going to be happening in the market today. Looking at things, we're not in the best shape. This snow line, 382, 50% retracement level of the ES right around 4370, 4380-ish is kind of like the little last line in the sand. We break that snow line, we've got potential to come back down all the way to this fire line, which is at 4100. Now that's a big drop. My last little hope, right, is this 382 retracement from previous low to previous run, right? This bullish run that we were in to the high of that. We're pulling back. We're currently got room down to 43.21. Below that, then I'm going to get a little sketched out. There's been lots of talk all over social media about, is this an inverse head and shoulders? It could be, but what I'm looking at is we're below the 50, below the 21, and below the 200. Looking at it from a 4-hour perspective here, right? We're at that do or die, that do or die position. Any lower than 43.54, we have a quick move down to 43.21, and that is like the last. Below that, we get bearish. So downside targets would be 43.21, 42.70. If we bounce here off of this snow line, we do have the 200-day above us right at 44.09, 44.10. And then we have to claw our way back up through the 21. And I would be looking to short any rallies to this 21. All right, the 21's coming in at 44.22. See, it's getting a little sketchy. Looking at the 30-minute for our intraday guide, right? What are we going to do today? Massive sell-off, right? Last week, a little bit of movement yesterday, or this pre-market, right? Sell-off last night, a little bit of improvement pre-market. We just barely overtook the 21, but still, it's not looking the greatest. We are making higher lows and higher highs, so there is a little bit of strength there, but we do have the falling 50, falling 200. Let's go ahead and mark 43.80, and then there's a micro supply zone right here that we have to be aware of, right? That runs this level. I'll get back over here. Get back over here. All right, so we do have a micro supply zone that runs approximately 43.85 to 43.90. Above that, then we got a little bit of breathing room back up to 4400. That's going to be the magnet. If we reject that, we can easily chop between I was almost spot on with that thing, wasn't I? All right, so our chop range is 43.56 to 43.90. We definitely just chop back and forth in between those. We need a clear direction, to be honest with you. I don't want to trade this zone until we figure out what's going on. I'm not super thrilled at looking to put any risk on here. All right, for our perspective, kind of the same deal. We are kind of setting up for a little bit larger move down. So if we reject that, we can come back down. Like I said, if we break below previous session lows at 43.55, then 43.20 would be next stop. We break up and out of this. We do have the 200 overhead at 44.09. So the market's just kind of confused as to what it wants to do. Okay. Next up on our list would be the old NQ. Okay. So this is a sector that I believe can influence us the most today, in that everything I looked through on our scans over the weekend, tech sector was very, very at some key levels of support, meaning daily 4-hour Keltner channel bottoms. We got a little hammer forming here right at the 382 retracement from this low to this high. And we're coming back down. 382 retracement should hold. If we hold here, we'll start bouncing back up. On the move back up, 14,000 psychological level, or 14,105. 14,257 is the 50-day, and then the 21 is up here at this tree line. Geez, at 14,444, right? Remember that 44444 level that we've been talking about forever. So do we get a rally up to there, or do we get a failure? So failure, we have snowline 13,468. We can chop, or we can start moving back up. 30-minute perspective, or 4-hour. 4-hour has us coming down to a bounce level, really. This looks like a... All right, so skyline 13831. Reject that. We come back down to 13460, or 13,500 psychological level, right? Above that, then we move up to the 21-day on the 4-hour. The 50, 200 is going to touch. There's just lots of things going to shape up today. So today may not be a directional day, but it will set up some things for later this week. And finally, the 30-minute, right? Looking to retest. And there's a little bitty supply zone right here. All right, so retesting that supply zone is retesting the 50-day. We're above the 21. If we can get above the 50, then we got a little bit of breathing room back up to 14,000 area. If we reject this area, right, and we start breaking down a little bit more, like I said, that's going to be key. The key level is 13879 up to about 13906 on the NQ. If you want to visualize what I'm saying, it's possibly something like this, right? And then a breakdown. Should be a bigger breakdown than that. It would be more like this. That'd be the breakdown, and then the retrade. I mean, support would be something like this, maybe. But regardless, we're coming up to a key level. See what happens at the open when we hit this level. Okay. Next up is the Dilly Dally Daily Dow, which has been super chop festy. I mean, look at that. Oh, let me get over here. More of that inverse head and shoulders business, but the Dow has actually held the 50. So this, remember last week when I was like, oh, we could seriously just chop between the 50 and the 200. It looks like that's what's happening. We haven't really taken over the 21-day on the daily yet. So range bound on the Dow. So from this low to this high, we're just at a 618 retracement, just chilling. I wish it would give us more of a direction, but it's really not. We are maintaining the 200 on the 4-hour, which is good, but we're below the 21 on the 50. So I'd say on the Dow, if we can get above on the Dow above 34,452 for a move up to about 34,560. Above that, then we can get back up to 35,000. But we've been choppy. We've been going down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. So do we wick down and touch this 200 again? Possibly, but I mean, this is just chop nastiness, right? 30-minute candles, right? Last week, not a whole lot of movement, right? There's just not movement happening. We are holding that 618. Spaghetti strap mess, right? So on the 30-minute, we need to get above. Let's just say we have to clear this zone here. So we have to get out of this supply zone before we start looking long. We do have a demand zone that runs probably equal to that. Just super chop. All right. The Russell should actually, now the Russell's been interesting, right? Fell off, couldn't retake the 50, couldn't rallied up to the 21. So, what people are thinking is that they're selling this 21 move up here, right? And coming back down. Russell looks like it's giving us a little bit of trend line movement, right? Watch that trend line. Watch this 382 retracement, which is the 382 from this low to this high. We fell down to the 23, back up to the 50, below the 382. We're just chopping back and forth. I'm not going to be bullish on the Russell until we can regain this tree line here, which is at 2038. So above 2038, 2050, 2096. If we break down and we can't overtake 2000, 1969 is the low, below that 1917. Okay, from a 4-hour perspective, right, just kind of moving on up. Still negatively stacked moving averages right off that skyline, right? Really just kind of holding this trend line for support. What happens when we retest this 2000, 2010 level? Do we get continued rejection? It should be pretty easy to see once we get there. However, keep in mind, we are negatively stacked on the 4-hour, right? And then this is just confusion on the 30-minute. So 30-minute 200 SMA, 1997, moved to 2000. Above 2000, then we get a little bit of breathing room on the 30-minute, but then immediately the 4-hour kicks in and we start smacking into the 50-day there and the 200. So it's important to outline these higher time frame levels, especially these major ones. Like, where's the 50-day on the daily? It's at 2027. Where's the 50-day on the 4-hour? It's at 2007, right? But the 200-day is at 2027, right? See how those things kind of line up? Just keep those in mind, okay? All right, and then finally, gold, which has been on a rip, right? Gold's been on a tear since we had that wedge breakout. So there's been I've seen a lot of sentiment about moving out of equities into hard materials, such as gold, silver. It makes sense, right? It's the only really bullish, uptrending future that we've been looking at. So daily's bullish, 4 hours super bullish, right? Rally, retested 21, continuing to move on up. We have a 50, 200 cross up on the 4-hour. So we do have some overhead resistance right here on gold. Looks like we've got stuffed at this level a couple times at 2006. I'm seeing a little bit of a supply zone here. is a little micro supply zone. All right, so above 2006, and we can start looking at 2023, 2047, etc. If we reject this level, we do have support right below us, right? Got a demand zone right underneath us. So that's a 4-hour, and if we bring this up on the 30-minute, you'll see there's that room. A little range bound, right? There is movement. So up to 2006, right? 2000 being the psychological level, major psychological level, we could easily just chop, 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 or just continue to rip. So gold is definitely uptrending, and the trend is your friend until the end. Okay. Moving on, looking at crude. So crude has been doing some things. All right. Had that nice little wedge breakout above some key levels of support. This little doji here that I'm seeing on today's move would be 1, 2, 3 bar play. We pull back and then set up for a larger move up. So if we pull back on crude, right? So from this low to this high, retrace. I have to remove that. That doesn't work. There we go. That's better. So crude support 104.79, below that 101.98, above 107.75. Then we get a move up to, we trade back up this zone to about 111. Yeah, 111 looks pretty good. 30-minute. I mean, the trend is your friend until the end. So longs above 108, sorry. Yeah, 108, and then shorts down below. And you could just trade the zone back down, right? Trade down to 104. So those are the levels on crude. And then yield bonds. So TLT is actually looking pretty bullish, right, on FlowTrade, but bonds are looking bearish. So we have this tree line at 138 as a downside magnet, right? I'd drawn this Elliott wave down. I think we may be hitting it right now. Pretty close to it, right? So 138 to the downside. Below that, we go 133. If we bounce there, then we've got to clear this little supply zone that's just been created. The ones, 140, 142 for our. Yep, this tree line 138 is a magnet. That should be support. Then we go from here back up to the snow line. We break this, we come back down to the snow line. So I'm just going to chill out on bonds for a minute. Definitely downtrending, that's for sure. So the equity equivalent of this is TLT, and we'll look at that here in a minute, right? TLT is bullishly diverged, so this may yank bonds back up, but this is definitely a little failed channel breakout. Where's my channel tool? There it is. Nice little channel, failure, right? So now what do we do? And then finally the yen, which I've been seeing a lot of commentary on lately. The yen is flat and it's holding its 21. So this, let's just go from a daily first. Daily, this looks very bearish. Yes, it does. Very bearish yen, which is what we like to see. But as we start getting a little bit lower time frames, right? Retest the 50 failure, retest the 21 failure. Look at this 30-minute though. Retest the 200 failure, and now we're just kind of wedging here, right? We start overtaking the 21, the yen can start moving back up. That's bad for the dollar. Okay. All right. That's it for the futures. I'm going to throw this up on the 3-minute chart. So we can keep an eye on things here. All right. Intraday, like lower time frame wise, things are looking pretty good except for the NQ. All right. Holding that little 21, holding the 21, holding the 50-day on the EA. So I'm thinking Russell and Dow today, but large cap tech stocks have there's some very key levels. Okay. All right. Where is my magic cults? All right, lots of news. All right. Qualcomm downgraded to neutral from outperform, lowering estimates and lowering price target to 215 or from 215 to 155. Right? That's Qualcomm. All right, sold off last week. Pre-market, sold off. So we've got, what is this? What did I do? I don't even know what this is, but I know that the 4-hour, like we've, in that whole big move, we've given it all back. They're looking at 155 as a price target. We are coming down to a previous demand zone. Breaking through some 4-hour kilts. Earnings is coming up next week. I was like, I have the weekly chart up. Let's try this with a 4-hour. Much better. There we go. I was like, none of this is making sense. All right. This is a rally to the 34. Reject it back down to the 4-hour bottom. So Qualcomm below 133, right? And we have to look way left. Right, below 133, 130, below 130 and gets ugly. Okay. This is kind of indicative of everything today, right? Or everything recently. So for our bottom, for our mid, for our top, if we reject, get over here. A little bit better look there. We're coming down to the 4-hour bottom, which is at 133, 134. Qualcomm below 133.70. Final support's at 133 even. Look for a bounce from there up to 135, 137. Contrarian, if we break and start closing below 133, then we need to look at And I'm taking a fib level from this low to this high. Oh, I can't do it with this tool. I can do it with this tool though. Here we go. There we go. $130 downside target. But I'm looking for a bounce. If we bounce, we'll know it. All right, there's some quick, easy money there in Qualcomm. Intel is considering expanding its outsourced backend operations to include PC use chipsets, and its technology is expected to become the first Taiwan-based to win a deal. This is all ugly. Earnings coming up. We are at the 4-hour bottom, right? So Intel below 45.28. We move back down to 44. Upside target 46.50. Guess that's all I can do. Like, this is just nasty. The market is not in a healthy position. Twitter, however, dual news out on Twitter, right? Twitter's got that dual news. It's also held the 382 pretty decently. Slingshot squeeze getting ready to happen. MACD getting ready to cross over. Weekly MACD's up. Daily is histogram's positive but pointed down. Intraday is looking pretty decent. This is looks like a nice little channel forming here. Twitter, I would just stay away until we get above. Get over here. Come on. $47 to $49. There's a move there. That's also 4-hour mid, 4-hour top. It's also 618 retracement. Yeah, above 47.72, I'd go long to about 49. Below that, it just could very easily just consolidate even more. Okay. So we had that nice little Elon news. We fell out for our bottom. Daily mid, daily top, right? But I'm looking at these 4-hour high compression squeezes here and the slingshot getting ready to happen. We are currently above the 21, the 13, 21, 34. So we are bullish, right? But it is channeling. We're trading at 46 right now. Twitter's going to get a lot of volume today. Also, Twitter announced late Friday its boards of directors has unanimously adopted a limited duration shareholder rights plan following an unsolicited non-binding proposal to acquire Twitter. But more importantly, Jack Dorsey's first tweet became an NFT last year and was sold for $2.9 million. Now it may be resold for less than $14,000. That shows you how maturing NFT market is deprecating assets. So let's just be careful with this. All right, industrial materials, Fedex. Mentioned positively in Barron's, right? Noting its share price has changed a little over the last 5 years, badly trailing the S&P, but with a new CEO set to take over on the 1st of June, focus on improving its ground business. They could catch up to UPS finally. However, look at this overnight. So FedEx below 204.90. Let's just call it 205. 205. Let me get a move back down to 201. Like, this is rally to the 21. Couldn't do it. 21. Couldn't do it. 21. Couldn't close above it. Couldn't close above it. There's pressure pushing down, keeping FedEx below the 21. Right? You see these big giant wicks every time it gets near the 21? Well, I'm not going to fight that trend. Are you? Heck no. All right, let's look at this from a kelp perspective. I gotta look at that monthly cloud and see where it is. Is that the bottom, the top? All right, so this is the top of the monthly cloud. 4-hour mid is at 203, right? So if we start breaking down below 205, 203 is the monthly mid, or the 4-hour mid could stop us, but 4-hour bottom's right here at 199. That 200 psychological level is super important. I'm also noticing that we got a little bit of trend line. Not even going to use that. I'm hard pressed to go long on Fedex. I'm not seeing anything that's giving me any confidence that we can support this 203.71 level here, which is the 1-hour bottom, right? So below 20. So if we take out pre-market lows, right, I think we get a nice move back down to 200. All right. In healthcare, nothing really. Financials, there's a lot of financial news that has come out, right? Bank of America, right? Citibank, JPM. I just don't trade financials enough to know, but I do see everything's just kind of the same, right? Everything's just kind of they all look the same. Nastiness. I would stay away from financials today. In energy, Southwest Gas announced that because of the receipt of an indication of interest well above Carl Icahn's 82.5 per share offer, Southwest Gas board has authorized the review of a full range of strategic alternatives. Looky there. How did we miss Southwest Gas for the last couple of weeks? Jeez. Talk about a relative outperformer. Lord. Is it too late? I don't know. It might be. That's a strong move pre-market. Let's put Southwest Gas on our watch list for today, okay? I'm looking for a retrace and then, pull back and go. So SWX. All right. Crude inventory for May deliveries rose 2.6% Thursdays to sell at a 2-week high of 106.95 per barrel, while June Brent crude ended 2.7% up, capping respective weekly gains at 8.8%. That's crazy, right? That is bananas. All right. And what am I doing on time? Okay. In world news, this is important. Here, let me just make sure. Oh, Forex Factory. They're saying that housing market index at 10 and Bullard's supposed to speak at 4. Don't know if that's going to affect the market, but we do have some world news that has come out that will. Let me just get this to you real quick. Wow, we missed that. I can't believe we missed that thing. That's just beautiful. That is a beautiful move. Okay. Goldman Sachs said history suggests that the Fed faces a hard task tightening policy enough to cool inflation without causing a recession. puts the odds of a contraction at about 35% over the next 2 years. China's Q1 2022 GDP beats estimates at 4.8% year over year versus a 4.4% expectation. China saw faster than expected GDP growth in the first quarter, data released by the National Bureau of Statistics showed on Monday. Despite parts of the country being on lockdown, China's March 2022 industrial production beats, rising 5% year over year, while monthly retail sales miss. Our Empire State Manufacturing Index jumped 24.60 versus 2, consensus at and negative 11.8 prior. New orders index climbed 36 points and shipments index rose 42 points. That's pretty decent, right? That's saying that we're getting some manufacturing out there. Industrial production is up almost 1% versus 0.5%. Capacity utilization was at 78.3 versus 77. And China's central bank cut the amount of cash banks must hold in reserve. People's Bank of China lowered reserve requirement ratio for most banks by 25 basis points and for smaller banks by 50 basis points. That's interesting. Are they okay? So, let me think about that for a minute. Because, so if we did that in the United States, right? If the U.S. came out and said, "Yo, banks, you don't have to have as much cash in the bank. You don't have to hold that in reserves." What that means is if there's a run on banks, if people are like, "Oh," and they start panicking, they run to the bank to pull their cash out, banks can turn people away and say, "We don't have the cash for you," right? Which would cause more panic and fear. Now, and this is the downfall of being this way, right? I had a bunch of cash in a bag and I accidentally threw it away. But that was my thought process, was that if there's, well, you can't use gold to trade, right? And if people start moving into metals or to buy anything, you can't walk into your supermarket and give them a gold note, right? Like a $20 gold coin, which is worth like $3,000. What are they going to do, right? So that's interesting. That might be a little sneak peek into something larger. We have to keep an eye on that. Okay. North Korea fired 2 short-range projectiles towards the east of the Korean Peninsula as South Korea and U.S. prepare for military drill starting today. Interesting. Missiles were launched about 6 p.m. and flew about 110 kilometers at an altitude of 25 kilometers. Okay. North Korea scares me. It does, for real. All right. Earnings after the close today. We don't really have anything that we normally trade, so not a big deal. Earnings before the bell. There we go. This thing right here came up on the watch list, and I've never traded it before. But it could move today, right? Look at that. If there's anything that can move off of earnings. They haven't released it yet. Look at this. Charles Schwab, right? Above 86. We see 87.50, 90, 92. We reject that level. We've got the rising 200 right underneath us. So if it didn't have earnings today, that would have been a fun one to trade. Bank of America has earnings. Sanofi, SNDA, and Schwab. So just kind of rounding out the last of the bank earnings. All right, and then finally, let's get this done here. U.S. stock futures are looking lower. The S&P down about 0.5% overnight as traders return from a 3-day holiday after the S&P dropped 2.1% last week. It's the second straight weekly decline on rising treasury yields. Inflation rate hike expectations by the Fed continues to weigh on the prospect of faster policy tightening by the Reserve, signaling a bearish start to the week. Goldman Sachs said today in a note that Fed's signaling on rates will likely deliver another 7 or 8 rate hikes this year has boosted the odds of a near-term recession to about 35%. Meanwhile, natty gas prices surged to the highest intraday level in over 13 years, and robust demand tests drillers' ability to extend supplies. That's not good. Last week, the S&P finished down 2.1%. Nasdaq 100 lost 3%. And in Asian markets, the Nikkei index dropped 293 points, or over 1%. Shanghai dipped 0.5%, and in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng was closed. In Europe, stock markets remain closed and will be reopened tomorrow. Okay, that's why I'm saying choppy day. Not getting a lot of, I'm not feeling a lot of directional bias, okay? Asian markets dip after China reported their annual GDP of 4.8%, which topped expectations, but was still far from the 5.5% growth goal. Gold prices hit their highest level since mid-March, nearing 2,000 an ounce, as rising inflation fears and uncertainty surround the Russian-Ukraine conflict dampens risk sentiment and drives investors towards the safety of the yellow metal. Bitcoin prices are tumbling, down 3.5%, and Ethereum declines 4%. Okay. So, out of everything we looked at, what did we find that was really, really decent? This guy. Southwest Gas. All right. That's it for the news. Let's get into the plays. Good morning, Johnny. Good morning, Terry. Good morning, Orlando. What's up, DJ? And welcome, Burgess. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. What you see in front of you is the smart money dark pool and block trade algorithm software provided by FlowTrade. It's created the flow index. That's this pink line you see here. Right? The pink line is smart money. This tracks large institutions, hedge funds, smart monies, dark pools, block trades. Out of the list this week of a bunch of bullish potential stocks, what makes them bullish is that they're at a key level, a key Keltner channel level of support, and they've got this divergence. Divergence occurs when smart money gets into positions as prices coming down. Let me explain how this happens really quickly. If you are a large institutional investor and you wanted to get out of a position, right, or get into a position, and let's say you want to get out of this position here, you can't just drop a market order, because what will happen is you'll immediately eat up all of the liquidity on the DOM to the upside and the downside, and you'll actually end up, when the liquidity comes back, you'll end up at a lower price entry than where you wanted it to be. So to combat that, what smart money has to do is they have to scale in and out of positions. As price is coming down, they're buying into it, so that when price hits a support level or an estimated support level, right, their cost per share average, right, is where they want to start selling out. So if we've got divergence, meaning price is coming down and smart money is buying into it, as soon as we hit that support level, what will happen is price will start reverting to that divergence level. That's where we want to get into it, right? We want to, as retail investors, we want to buy low and sell high. Large institutions are scaling into large positions slowly as to not artificially inflate price action and eat up all the liquidity, so that a natural support level will come into place, and then they can start getting out of their positions. Okay, that's where divergence is so important. Okay, and that's why we like to look for it. So TTD, higher lows and higher highs. Not sure what this little blip here is here on Friday, but what I do see is that there is a white line. Oh, speaking of, these red lines are regular blocks, these blue lines are dark pool block trades. White lines are a good time, but they're more importantly when a regular and a dark pool print basically on top of each other. I use those as key levels. They can act as magnets, right? Put one up on your chart and see what happens when price action gets to it. So on TTD, we've got one at 75.22. Price hit it once, rejected, hit it twice, failed bull flag breakout, came back down here and found some support. Well, what's going to happen? We're going to magnet back up towards that 75 level. On TTD, was on the weekend watch list. I said if we cannot maintain this 70 or this 60, what is it? $62-ish level, right? We've got support down here at 60. Below that, we come back down to about 55.50, right? If we bounce here, we've got stair stepping our way up towards this $75 price target. Okay, that's just how it looks overall. Now let's get into it, shall we? We want to look at Disney. Let's try this again. If Elon fails to acquire Twitter, he will delete his account. His 82.4 million followers equals 38% of Twitter's daily active users. That is an incredible number. Wow. All right, so we want to look at Disney, Tesla, Walmart. And SPY. All right, Disney. What's going on with Disney? All right, I see a lot of the flow index trading with price, right? Very, very range bound, 130 to 134, right? The flow index is definitely range bound with price. If you can get on the right side of this cycle and get the lows to the highs, right? You could trade up and trade down, trade up and trade down, right? 130.43 is regular and dark pool support. 130.66 is regular block resistance. Above that, we fill the gap and start moving up. Now, this is just super range bound. Yeah. Southwest Gas is moving without us. All right, well, it's making lower lows and lower highs. Nice compression squeeze happening here. It's just tough to call this one, right? You could do 15 bottom, 15 top, but it's just super range bound. Negatively stacked moving averages. If these squeezes start to fire off, they could fire to the downside. So Disney below 129.38. We have the 4-hour bottom at 128. Below that, 126 to the downside. Contrarian, it's got a lot of work to get to where I would be bullish on it. I think 133 is the most you're going to get out of this, but this just looks super bearish, right? Is this an inverted head and shoulders? Maybe. I would wait till Disney gives you a little bit more direction because this is just chop fest, okay? All right. Tesla, bullish divergence, right? Liking to see that. I thought I heard some news about some Shanghai. Hold on, I missed something. I did. Rivian Motors. Rivian CEO is warning that the auto industry could soon face a looming shortage of battery supplies for electric vehicles. Okay. All right. Look at this flow index, right? This is kind of nice. Trading with price for a minute there. The flow index is steady, making higher lows and higher highs, and it's trading with price. We have a massive amount of regular and dark pools, regular blocks for Tesla. So Tesla above 1,000, I think we hit 1025. If we break this trend line, right, then we can look at previous lows at 980. If we break 975, then I think we get a quick flush back down to 950. And then trade down from 950 to about 910. Nice move pre-market. It's got a lot of resistance. If you're patient and you wanted to go long on Tesla above 1035 for a move to 1100, you could. This is just a nice little wedge. Oh, Tesla has earnings? Oh, Tesla has earnings this week? I can't in good conscience trade Tesla just because of the earnings move, right? Tesla's currently at the 4-hour mid, right? Above that, we've got 1321.34 overhead resistance on our way up to the 4-hour top, which is at 1026, which is also the daily mid. So previous highs at 1030. If we reject this 13 or there's 21, right? If we reject this $1,000 level, I think we can move easily down to 962. That's a 4-hour bottom. Below 962, we have support at 920. Okay. But this is just, I mean, these are big. These are $10 wicks, right? Do you want to trade a $10 wick? It's just too fast for me. All right. 962, huh? So we're trading down in here. All right, Walmart. What's going on with the Walmart? I don't really trade Walmart, but so double top. Walmart's just chilling with a lot of regular and dark pool support at that 157 level. We have a white line down here at 154. And I would say below 150, 153, flush to 150. 150 is psychological level. Below that, we get way down 145. Now, so it looks like that 4-hour top's held quite a bit. So 158.63, immediate overhead resistance at 159, right? But it is definitely holding up. Walmart is holding up. We're going to get a 5,200 cross up. I would look for 155. Or excuse me, I would look for this 156 level to hold. And then maybe get another run up towards the 4-hour top. So we're pull back to the 4-hour mid, daily cloud, right? 155, 155.50, 155.80, and then bounce back up and try to hit 158 again. If we truly break down into, if we break below the 4-hour mid and come all the way down to the 4-hour bottom, then we can look at the position changing, right? The situation being changed. But we've held this 34 every time we've touched it. So, and 154.75 support, rising 200. Yeah, I mean, you can put an alert at 153, trade it to 152. Below 152, then we get 150, 146, right? It's come back down, but 50 crossing 200 on the 4-hour, negative or positively stacked moving averages. Walmart might have a breakout day today. Flow index is trading with price, right? Made a high, made a higher low. If it makes a higher high, higher low, then I definitely think it can pull price through that little ceiling that it's created for itself, okay? And then finally the SPY. Just a massive amount of block trades. This was Friday's block trades, right? The flow index divergence traded out. Price started trading with the flow index for a minute. That little divergence traded out here, and now I'm not sure what the flow index is doing. So I would give SPY a little bit of time. If this is a true support, 437. came down to 435. I mean, it's at a key level of support, 4-hour daily bottom, but below the 50, below the 200 on the 4-hour. If we break 435, we can come down to 423, right? That's the next Keltner channel support level, right? So it's kind of imperative that we hold this 4-hour. If we come down, we would back test the 4-hour daily and then make that large move down. I would look for the retest, larger move down. Okay. Contrarian, if we want to get long on SPY, it's going to be kind of sketchy, but we could move to Friday's lows at 440, right? And then above that, we could move to Friday's open at 444. That would put us above the 34 on a move on our way up to test the 4-hour top at 445. So we rally up to 440. And then what happens at this 21? If we reject it, we can look at the downside move. If we can get above it, then we can look at an upside move. Okay. But that 441 level is pretty much a line in the sand, right? So keep an eye on it. 440.30. It's just basically this zone here, this one. Right, that's the line in the sand. 439.50, 441.75. All right, I gotta run. There's no more requests. What is ACI? I don't know what this is, but I can look at it real quick on the flow index. ACI, nice bullish divergence, right? Regular support 31.97, 32.41, and dark pulls at 32.50. Above that, we have a magnet 33.25, 34. Then we gap fill up to this white line, which is 34.78. If we take out these lows, we can move easily down to 30, right? Not sure ACI is. Oh, Albertsons? I mean, we're trying to hold the 50-day on the 4-hour. Possible some slingshots. We'll bounce off the daily, monthly 4-hour bottom. Right. So on Albertsons, I would say above 34, we hit 35, 35.60. But this 50 over here, do you see this? This 5,200 mess and Friday's high is pretty significant resistance. It's also the 34. It's also the 4-hour mid. So we can get above that, right? Get above that, then we can move back up towards the 4-hour top. There's not a lot of movement in it, but it does look pretty good. However, if we do give up this 32.25, 32.11 down to 31.50. Below that, we really have to look at a larger downside move. Okay, that's it. I do got to run. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dark Pool Algo. This looks pretty decent here, though. I might check it out. So, all right. Hey, Nard, Sundial, SUNDL. What is that? Is that what you want? SNDL? I don't know if it's gonna be bloody or choppy. Just it should be interesting, that's for sure. I don't know what this. If you want this Sundial flow index is trading with price right now. Looking for a little bit of bullish divergence getting ready to happen. Supports at 651. Right, 51 bounce, 51, 60, 65. Before we hit real resistance above 65, it gets pretty woody to 85. All right, I got to run. Thanks for joining me. We will talk with y'all later. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay green. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the chat. See y'all tomorrow.